True crime story, the mysterious disappearance of the Somerton Man. Hello everyone, I'm Billy and welcome to Shock Story, the channel where we dive deep into the strange, eerie and bizarre events from the past, especially those that have left us with more questions than answers. If you're someone who's obsessed with the unknown and loves unraveling true crime cases, then you've found the right place. Today we'll explore one of the most perplexing true crime stories from the mid-20th century, the case of the Somerton Man. This is a case that has baffled investigators, armchair detectives, and even the general public for decades. No one could ever figure out who the Somerton Man was or what happened to him, and his identity has remained one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in Australian history. The weird part, his death appeared to be intentional. Calculated even, but the evidence was too sparse to draw a definitive conclusion. So let me take you through this chilling case step by step. Are you ready? Let's go. It was December 1st, 1948, when the body of a man was found on Somerton Beach in Adelaide, Australia. The circumstances were strange, even from the beginning. The man was discovered in a seated position with his body propped up against a sea wall. At first glance it seemed like he was just taking a nap, his body appearing to be at peace. But as investigators started to examine the scene, they quickly realized there was nothing peaceful about it. The man was well dressed, wearing a suit, a tie, and polished shoes. Nothing unusual about that, right? Well, here's where things start to take a strange turn. There was absolutely no identification on the man. No wallet, no ID, no passport, not even a piece of paper with his name written on it. It was as if he had materialized out of nowhere, with no trace of who he was or where he had come from. But it wasn't just his lack of identification that raised suspicions. As authorities began to search his body, they discovered some bizarre and unsettling details. First, there were no signs of struggle. No wounds, bruises, or marks that might indicate a violent encounter. The man's body was in remarkably good condition, and there were no indications that he had been poisoned, strangled, or killed in any other obvious way. Yet, there was something else that puzzled the investigators: his stomach. When the medical examiner conducted an autopsy, they found that the man's stomach was nearly empty, save for traces of digested food. There was no trace of recent meals, suggesting that the man had not eaten in at least several hours, possibly even days. This alone was a mystery, because a person typically doesn't die of natural causes without having eaten recently. So what was happening? The strangest discovery of all came when police found a small scrap of paper tucked inside the man's pants pocket. It had a phrase written on it, "Tamam shud." This phrase, which is Persian in origin, translates to "ended" or "finished." The presence of this message was a significant clue. Though it seemed like just a strange cryptic note, the deeper investigation into this phrase would lead investigators down a rabbit hole of strange symbols, codes, and even possible espionage. What could this message mean, and how was it connected to the dead man? The investigators soon discovered that the phrase "Tamam shud" was actually the final words of a well-known poem, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, written by a Persian poet from the 11th century. The full line from the poem reads, "The ball no question makes of eyes and nose, but here or there as strikes the player goes, and he that tossed you down into the field, he knows about it all, he knows." The phrase had been clipped from a copy of the Rubaiyat found in the glove compartment of a car nearby. The connection between the phrase and the book became clear. The book was a 1941 edition, and the edition itself was a rare find. Investigators examined the book and found that the last page contained more than just the cryptic phrase. There were strange markings, almost like a code, written in the margins. But there was more. The book's cover had been removed, and there was no name or identifying marks that would point to the owner. What was even stranger was that the copy of the Rubaiyat had apparently been checked out from a library, but there was no record of who had borrowed it. This further deepened the mystery. Was the man connected to this book, or was it just a coincidence? Who had left the book at the scene, and why? In the following days, detectives learned that the man had not only been a mystery in terms of his identity, but also in terms of his health. Despite being in good physical condition, The man had no medical records. There was no hospital or doctor who had ever treated him. This led investigators to believe that the man could be an outsider, someone who had come from outside the region or even the country, and who had intentionally erased all traces of his existence. As the days passed, authorities continued to gather more information. A prevalent theory suggested that the man might have been involved in espionage. Given the Cold War tensions, Australia was a hot spot for intelligence activity at the time. Was the Somerton Man a covert agent sent there for intelligence purposes? The book and the cryptic message fueled this theory, suggesting that the man might have been part of a larger intelligence operation. The fact that the man was found near sensitive military areas added weight to the idea that he could have been a foreign agent who was silenced for unknown reasons. Further investigation uncovered possible links to other strange events in the region. Months before the Somerton Man was found, reports of unusual activity, strange vehicles and suspicious individuals had surfaced in Adelaide. Was the Somerton Man part of this mysterious network? As the investigation progressed, several theories emerged. Some speculated that the man might have been a soldier, while others thought he could have been a victim of a failed mission. A few even suggested that his death was linked to a failed romance, though this idea lacked concrete evidence. Meanwhile, the book's cryptic code and the Tamam Shud message raised even more questions. Witnesses reported seeing a man resembling the Somerton Man before his death. One woman, Jessica Thompson, a nurse, stood out in the investigation. She had been seen with the man before he died, but she denied knowing him. Her involvement made the case even more mysterious. Did she know more than she let on? Was she connected to the Somerton Man? Could she have been part of a larger, secretive plot? Despite decades of investigation, including DNA testing, the true identity of the Somerton Man remains a mystery. No one has ever come forward to claim his body, and the cryptic codes, the book, the message, and potential espionage connections have faded into history, leaving a trail of unanswered questions. Who was the Somerton Man? What was his purpose? Was he murdered, or did something else happen? The most haunting question of all remains. Will we ever find out? So there you have it, the long and mysterious story of the Somerton Man, a case that has puzzled investigators, journalists, and true crime enthusiasts for over 70 years. It's a story that refuses to be solved and reminds us that not all mysteries have clear answers. This is Billy from Shock Story, and I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most perplexing true crime cases of the 20th century. Stay tuned, because we have more bizarre and unsolved mysteries waiting for us. Be sure to subscribe and join me for our next chilling adventure. Until then, keep questioning everything.